Is that recording?
I think so. I had a little button come up on my end saying recording. So yes,
Perfect.
hopefully that's all good.
Oops. No, that's not what I want, is it? Okay. Okay. All right. So that's wonderful. So, okay, ladies, thank you for coming on tonight. I'm pretty excited. This is, I've interviewed Meah many times before, but we've never actually done a webinar together. So I'm pretty excited about this. Yeah, it's wonderful. Now, some of you may know me, some of you may not. My name is Lynn Miller from Menofitness, and my journey started 20 years ago, really, in the health and wellness industry. So I've been in this industry, the fitness industry, for 20 years. 10 years of that was working as a PT in gyms and as a personal trainer, with clients myself. It wasn't until I was 41, I'd been in the as a personal trainer for 10 years, that I was totally burnt out, and I actually suffered from adrenal fatigue. But 10 years ago, adrenal fatigue wasn't around then, and I went off to the doctor because I felt pretty bad. What happened was I would wake up in the morning and basically I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. Progressively, it got worse and worse over the coming months, to the point where I had to have a little nana nap in the afternoon. And I wasn't quite a nana at that time. I am now, but back then it wasn't conducive to what I was doing. I was a single mum of 4 children, 3 of them teenagers. I had a personal training business. Life was busy. And so having a little nap in the afternoon wasn't in the plans. I got a really bad chest infection. I couldn't get rid of it, and I was never sick. So I took myself off to the doctor thinking that I was literally dying. And lo and behold, I had all the tests done, went back a week later only to be told that, you know what, Lynn, you're all normal. And, mouth dropped open, walked back to the car, burst into tears and felt, said, well, I certainly don't feel normal at all. So that sparked my 2-year journey to heal myself, and it was very much trial and error. I did find a doctor that actually diagnosed me with adrenal fatigue. And basically still I was left on my own to actually sort it out. So my weight started to pile on, and in fact I put on 10 kgs over the course of the time. And what I had to do was, as a personal trainer, I thought, hey, crikey, this is easy. I know how to lose weight. I teach women how to do that all the time. But it didn't quite happen that way. And in fact, no matter what I did, I was actually putting on weight, which was frustrating. So it was like 20 steps forward, 10 steps, 25 back. And so I really had to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I researched, and there was no real help out there. So basically I had to do it myself. And after 2 years, I could finally say that I was starting to feel myself again, and the weight was slowly coming off. And that sparked the birth really of Menofitness, because I thought, crikey, if I was in the health and wellness industry as a PT, how did other personal trainers, feel or deal with menopause or hormonal issues, and how did they help their 40-plus clients? And so I put together the online Menofitness online course, which was registered in 7 different fitness organisations in 5 different countries around the world. I educated over 1,200 PTs on menopause and fitness. And since then, I've coached a few hundred ladies back to overall good health. So that's me in a little bit of a nutshell. So tonight, is all about a few 10 habits that you can, pretty much utilize into your daily regime, or even if you just choose one, that would be wonderful. But for some of you ladies, you may have already gone off to the doctor and been told exactly the same thing, you're normal, and yet you're storing fat, you're bloated, you're moody, you're hungry, you have massive cravings, you're tired, and you're not sleeping. Now, some of that may resonate with you, some of it may not. But the good news is it can be fixed. Okay, and tonight we have an absolutely amazing lady here, Meah Robertson. Now, I've known, I actually not quite sure, Meah, how long I've known you, but a little while. And yeah,
about 4 years, I think.
I think so, because Meah has helped, I know, Isn't time
Yeah.
flying by? But Meah has helped me with my hormones over the years and done an absolutely wonderful job, I must say. She's an amazing lady. She's an experienced naturopathic physician and has been specialising in women's health and integrative natural medicine in clinical practice since 2006. So that's saying something in itself. She has worked with herbal medicine and nutrition over this time, and often patients would be advised to take multiple supplements, liquid herbs, foods and fibre to get the results that they want. Now, Meah, being as wonderful as she is, saw this as an amazing opportunity to combine, all these key ingredients into one easy to take formula. And that was the birth of the Fem21. And I remember that very, very well, because I think I was one of the first to get a sample of that, Meah. And I've been an avid user. Now, she has an amazing, let me just click on from that because I'd like to see who Meah is. Now, Meah, in her clinical experience, it continues to grow and has gained particular interest in, many avenues, as you can see on the screen there, with hormone balancing, nutritional deficiencies, thyroid, adrenal, you name it, the list goes on. So she's an amazing, amazing lady. So welcome, Meah, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge with the ladies that are on here tonight. So let's take it away. First of all, Meah, let's talk about sleep, okay? Now, sleep affects us in many ways. As you can see, sometimes we wake up in the morning feeling like this lady here. It affects our hormones hugely. It affects our weight loss. There are many contributing factors to why we don't sleep. Hot flushes, sometimes we have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet 2 and 3 times. Some ladies have indigestion. Meah, let's talk about sleep and what's one habit that women can put into place to help them sleep better.
I think sleep, just reiterating how important it is, just keeping in mind that sleep is when your body is doing all of its maintenance and repair work and healing. And so if you're not sleeping well, it really takes a lot longer to work through an issue. So if you've got something specific that is, plaguing you, whether it be, like a hormonal imbalance or some sort of, even just like a infection or a recurrent infection, weight or sleeping, that's when you're doing all your maintenance and repair work. If that's not happening, then it's going to take you a lot longer to resolve that issue and get through that. So I think your adrenals play a big part in your capacity to sleep. And if your sleep-wake cycle and your rhythm for your adrenal pattern is out of whack, then you'll be tired through the day and then you won't be sleeping well at night. So I find there are a few really important things to do for a good sleep rhythm, and one of them is to give up the caffeine. Especially having tea or coffee in the afternoons, it can really throw out that adrenal pattern and cause a cortisol spike in the afternoon and evenings when you least want it. The other thing, any sort of stress that's going to ramp you up in the afternoons and evenings, I don't think is a good thing for sleep. And it's not unusual for my patients, like if they're playing, sport, for example, or doing like netball at night, or I know myself, if I've done a class at night and, you've been sort of exercising and cardio especially, then I find it really difficult to switch off and sleep. And that's just because your adrenals have been firing over that time that you've been exercising. So anything that's going to stimulate your adrenals, you want to do in the mornings. And so that's exercise. If you are going to have caffeine, just keep it to the mornings, and then leave your evenings for wind down time, and don't do anything overstimulating. Even like, watching like stressful movies or reading a book or something with blue light on your iPad, or that's going to interrupt your melatonin secretion, will definitely influence how you're sleeping. So try to get into a routine through the day where you're active in the mornings and winding down in the evenings, and stay away from the caffeine, especially in the afternoons. Cool?
Yeah, fantastic.
Sleep tips.
Oh, look, absolutely.
Can you hear me okay, Lynn?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
All right, good.
It was a little bit slow there at one part there, but that's absolutely fine. And when it comes to sleep, it affects us right throughout the day. I mean, as far as tired and lethargic, it really does affect us. So those are really, and here we are talking on the computer and everything. We got the blue light happening, and we're trying to wind down. But
so once you switch off, make sure you just go and do something relaxing, so you can wind down.
Yeah. Okay. So that's fantastic. Wonderful. So cut down on the coffee, especially in the afternoon. Leave anything stimulating to the morning, like exercise and coffee, and anything at night time. Leave night time to winding down. And we have a little.
That's my dog in the background. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So basically leave stimulating things to the morning and wind down at night, especially with TV and horror movies, for example.
And water intake too, I think, is another thing just to consider. Like, I know that women, if they're not drinking enough water through the day, then you'll get that thirst in the evenings, and you'll be like trying to catch up on your water intake that you've missed out on through the day, and then that just leaves you with the full bladder that you're just waking up frequently through the night to go to the bathroom. And just coming back to the menopausal side of things too, Lynn, is certainly when your adrenals are out of their nice regular pattern, if they're dysfunctional, you're going to be much more likely to be having hot flushes through the night. But if your adrenals are settled and they're functioning well, it's less frequent, less severe. And I find that there's a really big tie-in with hot flushes and your adrenals, and when they're stressed, then that frequency and severity certainly increases.
Yeah, there's a big connection there, isn't there? Meah, especially with sleep, stress, adrenals, just that whole connection happening there. Absolutely. So let's talk about food, nutrition. Now this is quite a biggie. Okay, I find this quite huge. It's I get the question, fat burning foods. What foods do I need to eat to burn fat? Which is always kind of makes me laugh. But let's talk about estrogen too. When it comes to menopause and declining estrogen, I mean, when estrogen makes us more sensitive to insulin. So as we go through menopause and estrogen declines, we can have a tendency to become more insulin resistant. And of course, that's kind of the precursor to type 2 diabetes. So let's just I want to briefly talk about soy too as well, but if we can just talk about food in general, as far as what sort of nutritional foods that we should be consuming, and the effects estrogen has on what we can and cannot eat.
I think food-wise, certainly different diets suit different people, and different also blood types I find respond differently to different diets. And I find it so interesting to pinpoint in my patients what blood type they are, and just, you know, from that first visit with them, and just get an understanding of what their body will naturally do. So I'll often find that A blood types will have a tendency to go to more of a vegetarian style diet. They'll, you know, be really good with fruit and veg, and they'll be fine with eating whole grains, and even I find their appetites are a lot less. And so with A blood types, food-wise, I find that they tend to steer better when they're not overloading themselves with too much food. So they do better with like a 5-2 style of diet, or a 16-8 eating pattern, and not eating like 6 meals a day, you know, just keeping it to 3 meals a day, smaller sized meals, and they do better on lower calories. Now, an O blood type, which is almost like at the opposite end of the scale, they don't do very well with grains or sugar whatsoever. And grains and sugar are probably the two things that really drive inflammation and storing fat in O blood types. And so I find for them that they tend to do much better on more of a paleo style diet. So, you know, plenty of fish and red meat and eggs, and, you know, just natural foods like fruit and veg as well. But really, they've got to just like stay away from sugar. So it's so important, and also away from grains. So tending to follow more of a gluten-free diet as well is better for O's. And I find that probably that once you sort of get a feel for where you're at with your body, you understand what sort of foods sit better for you, how frequently you need to eat, and what foods to really steer clear from, and what foods to have in abundance. And so for like O's and also B blood types as well, I find that they tend to do better with eating more frequently, and they can't sort of have big gaps in between meals. They don't do very well on calorie restriction or fasting type diets, or those sorts of eating patterns. They do really well with high protein, even like a ketogenic type diet, and eating frequently, and plenty of exercise. Almost exercise every day is key for those blood types. It's an essential element for keeping their body healthy and their wheels turning. And AB blood types, they tend to do better on more, you know, like a lower calorie diet, focus more vegetarian style, fruit and veg, legumes, and staying clear from too much animal-based protein, and certainly processed foods as well. So just keep it natural as much as possible. When I say legumes, I do try to encourage women to steer clear from soy. There's so much conflicting information about soy, and I think unless you're you know, of Asian genetics or descent, that your Westerners don't tend to process soy, and the soy that we have available in Australia and America isn't fermented and that side of things like Asian soy is. So it's processed differently. Our body takes on those xeno and phytoestrogens that we're getting from processed soy, and we definitely don't need that extra load when it comes to you know, that menopausal phase, or you know, that 40s to 50s phase. So yeah, I do tend to encourage people to steer clear from soy then.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about one thing that, you know, a lot of people, women, you know, don't really talk about, and that is our bathroom habits, going to the toilet to number 2, constipation. Now that's really, really a biggie, I find, with a lot of ladies that I talk to, constipation, not moving their bowels, and also, you know, the effect that it has on our hormones, in particular estrogen. So how can we, you know, if there's one little habit there that we can really help this area of our life along, give it a helping hand, so to speak, what would you say that would be, Meah?
I certainly think fibre is a key aspect there, and probiotics as well. So food-wise, you want to be ensuring that you're having enough fibre so that you're moving your bowels every day. And a healthy bowel motion should be emptied completely, and ideally moving your bowels between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. in the mornings. That's like the healthy window. If your bowels are reactive to foods, then that environment in the gut is not happy. And so we need to really fix that as a key area before, you can build a foundation for good health. You can't do that without a healthy gut. So certainly, ensuring that you're moving your bowels every day, and if that's not happening, increasing the amount of fibre that you're having. And that also goes from, I shouldn't say if you're not, moving your bowels every day, because some people can be on that end of the scale with constipation, and other women can be on the other end of the scale with, loose or reactive bowels. And ideally we want that middle zone where you're moving, at least once, potentially twice, but you wouldn't want to be moving, 4 to 6 times a day. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's wonderful. Okay, let's talk about mindful eating, because this is one thing that I actually had to learn, simply because when I grew up, our dinner table wasn't a place of conversation. I grew up in a household where we sat at the dinner table and we were on a mission to eat. So that was our dinner table. So we weren't allowed to talk, or we weren't allowed to do anything apart from eat our dinner. So growing up, my belief was that we sat at the table and we just ate. So I was quite a fast eater. Now, these days there's a lot more education about mindful eating and slowing our eating process down. Why is that, Meah?
Well, certainly there's a big connection between our stress response and what's happening with digestive activity. Mm-hmm. So if our body is in a stressful state, or in, like you're stressed about family or work, or you're just trying to shovel the food in and get on to doing the next job, your digestive system just really slows down. It shuts down because it's, can't fuel that energy to digestion. It's got to fuel the stress response. And so blood, energy and nutrients are all diverted away from digestion and into fueling that stress response. So the food that we're consuming at that time when we're stressed is just sitting in our stomach. It's not getting broken down. It's not moving through the small intestine fast enough. And so that can cause issues with, reflux or indigestion. We can feel really full or gassy or bloated in that upper gastric area. And also another condition that can be related to that is called SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And that's when we're getting food that's sitting in that small intestine for a longer period of time, and that's fermenting, letting off gas, and bacteria is growing there. And that's not where we should be having that happen. It certainly should be moving through, in an appropriate transit time to get to our colon, and to be moved out after we've absorbed all of the nutrients from that food. So with mindful eating, what that does is it just helps to divert that blood, energy and nutrients into our digestive system, so we can secrete that hydrochloric acid and break down that food in our stomach and those proteins, and then we can secrete those digestive enzymes and bile, so that we can break down our carbohydrates and our fats and further break down our protein and food to be absorbed. And then we're getting that appropriate absorption of those nutrients, and then the waste products can move on. So if we're in a stressed state, that process is not happening, and it just takes a lot longer.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful, to be explained, because we do live in a world where we're all so busy, and sometimes food can be just not thought about. It's just okay, it's time to eat, so we just stuff it down our face and you know, just to fill ourselves up. So what would you say to the ladies listening? You know, how should they be mindful? How you know, are we sitting down, we're taking our time? Yeah.
Certainly they're great tips, Lynn, and it is really just, you know, creating the space to have a lunch break or to sit and eat with the family and have a conversation, you know, to have some time in the mornings where you're not feeling so rushed out the door, where you can have, you know, a smoothie or breakfast or, you know, that side of things, to, you know, fuel up when necessary, and not just make it like a pit stop and then you're gone again. So creating that space and that scheduling certainly allows for much better productivity as well,
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, stuffing food down and feeling then gross afterwards. I'm like, oh, I can't, you know, and then you can't think straight and you've got brain fog and then you're tired and it's just all a mess. So if you create that space, then that's good. If you don't have a lot of time, the other tip, if you're eating especially more protein heavier, like a heavier meal, would be like maybe to consume some apple cider vinegar or a digestive enzyme or something bitter that helps to increase that digestive enzyme secretion, just to give your digestion a bit of a helping hand if you just know that you've really pushed for time. Otherwise, just keep it simple food wise. So don't have like a full on big meal when you're stressed. Just try to, you know, keep it simple and what you can digest easily, and then, you know, make sure you're making up for, you know, your proteins or calories later on that you may have missed out on.
Fantastic tip. I love that apple cider vinegar. In fact, you know, that's my morning beverage when I wake up, is lemon juice and apple cider vinegar and some warm water, and my salad dressing consists of flaxseed oil and apple cider vinegar. So
yeah,
good, yummy. So,
and the other thing that I'll probably just add on there is, didn't emphasize, but smoothies, because smoothies are a great quick thing that you can do. And also keep in mind that blending is like pre-digesting.
right.
And so that's an easy, you know, nutrient dense meal that you can have, that's quick. And also, the other tip I would say for mindful eating is where you can go and eat outside.
Yeah.
So you can look at something natural, you know, rather than eating at your desk or in an office or whatever, where you can't sort of have that connection to some nature that helps to really like ground you and settle you at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely, totally agree. Absolutely, fantastic. So this brings us to, we've kind of covered it a little bit, because this topic here really does set the standard for a lot of other things that we're going to talk about. But by crikey, don't some of us feel like that lady in the picture sometimes? Stress. I mean, is stress real? Well, of course, physical stress is real, but is emotional stress, you know, is that real too? You know, that's kind of like a debatable topic, because, you know, our thoughts create our response. But let's talk about stress and you know, we're all busy. We're busy ladies. We're busy women. You know, we live in a busy life. You know, what is one thing that you know, what are some things that women can do just to really chill out, de-stress?
Well, I think it's really, I mean, we could talk about this for hours.
Oh, yeah,
and please just pull me up if I'm getting carried away. But I just think that it's really important to acknowledge the mind-body connection being a two-way street.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, what's going on physically with your body, whether it's nutritional imbalances or your hormones or your adrenals or thyroid or inflammation or autoimmune processes, all of those physical symptoms and imbalances certainly can influence how we're processing mentally and emotionally. But when it comes to our mental and emotional health and how we're processing stress, and whether we're doing that well or not, also has an impact on what's going on physically too. So it's a two-way street, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's important that you're acknowledging and ensuring that you're working both sides, and that you can recognize where the red flags are waving physically, but also where the red flags are waving emotionally and, mentally and stress-wise. And so when you're looking in that area, there's there's 5 things that I say that is really important for emotional health. And even if you can just do the first 2, I think you'll really be like on your way to getting a good grounding. And the first one is making sure that you're doing something for yourself to give back to yourself that helps you to feel like nourished and lots of self-love and inner strength, and makes you feel happy and excited and feel good every day.
Oh, so, I love that one. I love that one. Now, ladies on here, did you take note of what this Meah just said? Okay. If there is nothing else that you take away tonight, that would have to be the golden nugget. Okay.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Meah, I just had to button you. So
no, good. I love it, Lynn. Yeah. And it's so important because, as women that are working and mothers, and we're playing so many different roles, that is really like giving an energy out all the time. And so we end up running on empty. And from that space, we get sick and tired and stressed, and we just lose sight of ourselves. So if we can just come back to a place where we're giving back to ourselves, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking from anybody else. It just means that you're giving to self. And whatever that means for you, that might be going for a walk or doing some meditation or writing in a journal or, reading a trashy magazine in a coffee shop, or having some time outside, or seeing a friend that makes you laugh, or getting your nails done. I don't know, whatever. Just something that's just for you, that makes you feel good about yourself, that feels like you're giving back. And it's just part of that self-love process. And the more of that we can do, the more inner strength that we can build. And from that space, just everything gets better. It has a ripple effect out. So just keep in mind that if you can find one thing every day, even if it's just looking at yourself in the mirror and just giving yourself some love and appreciation and finding some gratitude, it really will help just to have that foundation for emotional health, because it all gets built upon that place of self-love and inner strength and that confidence.
Oh gosh, couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you, Meah. So ladies, when you get this recording, I just want you to stop on this bit and rewind and listen to it, and rewind and listen to it, and rewind and listen to it. So that actually sinks into the unconscious mind. Okay, it's so important, and I can't stress that enough. And I really love the way that you brought that up. Thank you, Meah. That's wonderful.
Do you want to know the second little tip when it comes to stress?
Oh, yes, of course.
I won't go through all 5, but I'll just go through those first 2. So number 1, absolutely been through that, self-love, more of that. Yes. Number 2 is really giving yourself the permission and the space to clear negativity from yourself and from your life. So as much as possible, we want to ensure that we're acknowledging when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling sad, when we're feeling angry, when we're upset about something, whatever it might be, we're acknowledging that. And we're saying that's okay to feel that. That's part of the contrast of emotions. Yes. And that we can clear that in a healthy way that doesn't hurt anybody else. But most of all, it doesn't, holding on to it, just remember that hurts ourselves. And so if we hold on and we suppress that negative emotional response and say, oh, well, I've got to be the person that holds it all together, and I can't, be a crying mess, or I can't show anybody that I'm feeling stressed about this situation, then it just festers inside, and it just perpetuates more and more negativity. And I think that from that space, that's where we can have this growth of disease and other things physically, but also it just really impacts our quality of life day to day, because instead of seeing the world clear from that, and from that space of positivity and love, we're we're clouded by the negativity and trying to hold it all together. Mm-hmm. So clearing that in a healthy way, whether it's, you know, stuff that's we're holding on to in a sense that, you know, maybe we just need to have a good cry, or maybe there's something unresolved that we need to talk through or work through, or maybe there's something that's really bugging us, or, you know, that we're holding on to some resentment with our family, or anger or fear or whatever it might be. You know, just acknowledging that and processing and clearing that in a healthy way is so important for our emotional health long term. And also in that sphere of clearing negativity, we also want to ensure that we're clearing any negative people or relationships or situations in our life that are a constant source of stress.
Yes.
You know, just love yourself enough to get out of it, and you don't need to take it, and you don't deserve it. And so you can clear yourself by, you know, coming from that place of self-love and strength, and working through negative and removing it from your life to move on and out of that phase, rather than feeling like you have to stay stuck in it.
Yeah. Oh, look, you know, that's wonderful. Thank you for touching on that. I mean, and it also comes from a place of being worthy as well, you know, because many women have, you know, deep-seated issues of unworthiness, and we're all worthy of the best. You know, we deserve the best, and it's about believing in yourself and what you're capable of, and accepting that. So thanks, Meah. So let's she's full of real gems tonight, I tell you. This woman is really on fire.
We'll be here all night if you let me keep rambling on, Lynn, so just rain.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're doing the talking, because it's usually me. Usually I'm the one that sort of, you know, it goes on and on and on and on. And yeah, so I'm happy. So alcohol, coffee and chocolate. Well, here we go. So, you know, chocolate is kind of like a little bit of a favorite of mine, but I make my own chocolate. So my chocolate is made out of coconut oil and a bit of cacao butter and a little bit of cacao powder. So is that good for us, Meah?
I think moderation is key with anything, and it depends on where you're at in your phase of life. I mean, for some women, they're surviving off coffee. Yeah. And for other women, you know, they're drinking alcohol excessively to deal with stress. And for other women, you know, they're using chocolate as an excuse to fuel their low dopamine levels and their high anxiety. Okay. And so I think when it comes to understanding behaviours and why we're going for certain things, whether it's alcohol or coffee or chocolate, it's important to know what's too much for you. And also letting yourself off the hook sometimes as well, and just making healthier choices. So I think, you know, you can make healthy choices for alcohol, whether it's, you know, organic wine, you know, staying away from mixing spirits with soft drink, definitely staying away from beer, which is a #1 no-no for me for women and their hormones. And coffee, you know, it's really heavily pesticided coffee, chocolate and cotton, the 3 C's. So those crops, such high yield crops in the world, they really are heavily chemically laden with pesticides and herbicides, insecticides, all those chemicals. So choosing organic coffee where possible, staying away from pods, coffee pods, which, you know, you're drawing out those xenoestrogens from the plastic and the aluminium from the foil with the heat and the extraction process of the coffee from the pod. So just, yeah, cut that out. And chocolate, you know, certainly there's lots of healthier choices for chocolate that doesn't have to be, you know, super high in sugar and other additives. So keeping it in moderation for all of those things, I think excessive amounts of anything is going to be bad for you. So I usually tell women that depending, like say for example, if a woman was having liver issues, elevated liver enzymes, or issues with how she was metabolizing fat, or she had quite high levels of sugar in the bloodstream, and was overweight, then certainly, you know, alcohol's got to be taken off the table. It's just going to be, you know, driving further stress on the liver and a higher conversion of sugar to fat, instead of, you know, helping her to utilize her stored fat for energy and driving that insulin resistance. But, you know, for a woman that didn't have those issues and her weight was okay, and you know, was having a couple of drinks per week and, you know, say a maximum of 4 or 5, you know, that would be okay, so long as it wasn't all in one hit. Yeah. And coffee too, I just say, usually recommend when it comes to coffee is to at least have 2 caffeine-free days a week. And if you're drinking coffee every day and multiple coffees, and if you can't have a day off coffee without having withdrawals and headaches, then you're addicted from that. So having some caffeine-free days will enable your adrenals to work normally and to be fueled efficiently without the coffee. And you can just use the coffee as a social thing or as an occasional thing. And chocolate, just be mindful of when you're having your sugar cravings, because often a craving for chocolate, say mid-afternoon or after dinner, can be that you're trying to fuel your adrenals, so you're looking for some sugar to pick you up, or you haven't consumed enough protein for the day and your blood sugar levels are unstable as a result of that.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm still allowed my my schooner of beer on a very hot day after I've mowed the lawns.
Yes, very occasionally.
Oh.
So yeah, with beer, just a little tip there. Beer, because of the hops and the sugar component of beer, that combination together, it drives the conversion of estrogen into testosterone.
Yes.
And certainly when estrogen levels are unstable or fluctuating through that, you know, 40s and 50s period, we don't want to be storing testosterone. We want to keep our estrogen as much as possible, and good estrogen, not converting it to testosterone, which further drives that insulin resistance process. So yeah, instead of a beer, you could have like a shandy or like a wine and some soda water or something like that that was cold.
Yeah, lucky I've got an 18.
Oh, another one I thought was good. I have tried it, but it was, I don't buy kombucha all the time just because the cost of it, but vodka and kombucha, it's a nice combination.
Oh, crikey, I might have to try that one. That one sounds nice. But yeah, no, lucky I've got a 18-year-old son that likes to mow the lawn. So the cold beer on that a Sunday afternoon is only, you know, once in a blue moon. So that's good. Yeah. Fantastic. So, okay, everything in moderation, ladies, all right? And figure out why we have to have alcohol and why we have to have coffee or why we have to have chocolate. It's important. Okay, so let's talk about exercise, shall we? Because most women are of the belief that we have to eat less and exercise more in order to lose weight. Now, of course, when we're in our 20s and 30s, you know, when our hormones are working optimally for us, that probably is, you know, a logical way, and it does work. You know, I mean, I remember you know, in the younger days when I wanted to go out and I'd put on a couple of kilos, I'd cut a few calories, run around the block, and voila, you know, you can fit into that pair of jeans. But in our 40s and 50s and 60s, it doesn't quite work that way. In fact, exercising more is not always better. So let's talk about exercise and the influence that it has on our hormones. Whether that be you know, not enough exercise or too much exercise.
I think especially if we're looking at you know, what your goal is for exercise. Firstly, if it is to lose weight, then you've got to keep in mind that unless you unlock, hormonal imbalances and adrenal stress and systemic inflammation and nutrient deficiencies or excesses, and rebalance those things and sort your digestion out, then the principles of weight loss will not apply to you. Mm-hmm. So for women, I find, they can be eating really minimally and exercising a lot, but it's like beating their head up against the brick wall, right? Nothing's working for them. And so it's not until we're sorting out those systems and rebalancing our metabolism and our hormones and our adrenals and digestion and inflammation and nutrient levels that then we can see the results of eating well and exercising into our, what's happening with our body shape, our muscle strength and that side of things. Because if you're not eating much and you're exercising a lot and nothing's happening, you're just further driving more stress and inflammation in your body.
Yeah, totally. And being in the health, in the fitness industry, Meah, that's one thing, as a PT, we tend to, well, not so much me now anymore because I don't, have clients, PT clients, but, years ago, the fact was that I worked out with my clients. I'd run 10Ks a day. I'd have do my own exercise, classes and all those sorts of things. So it was part of our job description, really, as a PT to exercise a lot. And in fact, for some people, it's quite addictive. So hence me with adrenal fatigue and hormonal issues 10 years ago. So I appreciate you touching base on that. So what is one thing that they can do that really, as far as exercise goes, how much? Most women ask the question of, am I doing enough exercise or am I doing not enough, or how much should I be doing?
Mm-hmm. So I think if you're exercising at least 3 times a week, and if you're in a sedentary job that entails sitting down all day, that you should be active at the end of the day, every day, whether it's going for a walk or doing a session for weights or a session for stretching or a session for cardio. So you've got a variety in your exercise. That's really helpful for your body, but not doing it so much that stresses your body or interrupts your sleeping patterns, and that you can work with the natural flow of your energy and do activities that are suited there. And also to make exercise sustainable, I think it's important to keep it fun. If you're really hating it, then you're just creating more stress and pressure on yourself to do that exercise, and it's just not going to be sustainable. So do it with friends that you enjoy, and or do it with a PT that you really get along with, and you can have a chat and a joke over that time, and they can tolerate any whinging that you may have, and you can make it fun rather than it be something that's really you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And that's, I think, if you're keeping it fun and you're keeping it regular, then, and you're not obsessing over the scales, and you're doing other things that are important for giving back to your body and emotionally, and you're eating well, then your health will thank you for it for a really, really long time. And it's not really about, immediate results. It's more what you're getting in the long term. So I think, exercise and keeping your metabolism, ticking over is really important, especially if you're working on hormones, because hormones are stored in fat, especially estrogen. And so if you've got issues with estrogen fluctuations, estrogen dominance, bad estrogen, excess testosterone, then it's part of that process of clearing those stored hormones to burn that fat. And you really, exercise is a key component there, and it keeps your liver working well and your body detoxifying and your lymphatics working well, and controlling inflammation and all of your detoxification processes, really. So just keep going with it, and in the long run it will help you, even though you may not be seeing the differences in the short term. Cool.
Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely. You can see why I love this woman, can't you? Woman after my own heart, I tell you. Okay, so this is a goodie. Let's talk hormones like specifically. Now, when we hit 40, you know, we go through perimenopause and our hormones fluctuate. Then we go through menopause and our hormones start to decline. You know, we basically live half our lives in our perimenopause, menopausal years, postmenopausal years. What things can we do to create hormonal health in these years, and what tests are important for ladies to go and get, you know, have done in order to be able to look after their health? In particular, you know, I'm a big one on preventative medicine rather than wait till something happens. So let's talk about some of the tests that women can go and have done, and what sort of things they can do to look after their hormones as they age.
Well, I think, you know, hormonal health, if women different ages and stages, right? So how many children you've had, cancer history, all of that side of things. Because say, for example, you know, I've had patients that have had, you know, five babies. They've had multiple cycles of IVF. They're coming to me in their, you know, mid to late 40s, and they may have, you know, issues with really heavy bleeding or irregular pain periods, fibroids, their, you know, weight issues, thyroid issues. And so I think that's normal for you, because what's normal for you might not be normal for the next person or the next person in a different circumstance. So we want to really just take our individual circumstances into account and just appreciate, okay, well, if I've had, you know, IVF or multiple pregnancies, or I've had difficulties with my periods long term, or been on the pill long term, or been on HRT long term, then my hormones are not necessarily going to be happy. And then if we're have hormonal imbalances leading into that menopausal phase, it's going to go for a heck of a lot longer, and it's going to be a lot more severe. You have more trouble with that time, as opposed to going into that menopausal phase with your hormones being balanced and a nice normal cycle. And even if you have had, you know, a history of multiple pregnancies or IVF or been on the pill, you know, sorting your hormones out prior to that menopausal phase will really, you know, put you in good stead for that transition to be a lot smoother. So I guess the main hormone that affects women is estrogen, and estrogen levels in, you know, 40s and 50s and post-menopause is dependent firstly on ovulation and the activity of the ovaries, and then estrogen will get stored in fat and it will turn into different types of estrogen. So we've got good estrogen and bad estrogen, essentially. So good estrogen is what keeps our cycles regular and a healthy, you know, bright red period, and, you know, keeps our libido good and our breast health good and our hair healthy and our bones healthy and our skin healthy and our brain clear, and helps us to, you know, feel that, you know, loved and nourished, settled, womanly, you know, sense of self. That's good estrogen. We want more of that.
Sure.
Bad estrogen certainly makes us feel really irritable and cranky and wound up and stressed out, and we can have cystic lumpy breasts or fibroids or endometriosis or things growing in the body that lead to, you know, heavy periods. Just estrogen, potent estrogen or bad estrogen is like a growth hormone, so that also contributes to weight gain as well. So we want to ensure that our liver is processing that bad estrogen out really effectively, and there's certain things that we can do to help improve that. And with that bad estrogen gone, then that allows for progesterone to come up, and with that adrenal support, progesterone also bumps up too. And so then we've got a nice balance between healthy, good estrogen and progesterone, which then keeps our cycles nice. And then we get to a stage with menopause where our periods just start to stretch out. So instead of coming once a month, it might be, oh, well, I've just skipped 2 periods and I've had another one, 3 months later, and then it might be 6 months later, and then they just stop. And, it's just a natural progression. Doesn't have to be a big deal, but if our hormones are imbalanced and we're all over the place with heavy periods and pain and hot flushes and anxiety and pain with intercourse and all of that side of things, that's our hormone.
Hello.
You're in a much better state. And environmentally as well, you've also got to consider that getting into that point in your life, you've also had a lot more exposure to environmental disrupting agents, endocrine disrupting agents from the environment. So, that includes things like plastics and personal care products and chemicals from, fumes and pollution and water, and our body will hold on and have an accumulative effect of those things, and then that further disrupts us in that phase in our.
Absolutely. Are you there? Hello? Meah? Hello?
That a period comes, regularly, what the flow's like, and pain levels should all be minimal, and periods should be nice and simple and smooth sailing without a lot of PMS or physical symptoms. And if that's not happening, looking at where your symptoms are and discussing them with a practitioner who knows hormones and can correlate symptoms to certain hormonal imbalances, that's a really good way of monitoring, because you get to know your body a lot more. Yeah. Secondly, I would say blood tests as well are really helpful at certain times in your cycle. But again, you want to be ensuring that you're having a blood test for a baseline, say like day 2 or 3 of your period, then maybe one at ovulation, then maybe another one mid-luteal, say a week out from your period, so that you can see the fluctuations in your hormones throughout your cycle with bloods. The other really good way of monitoring it is with doing a salivary hormone test, and again, you can pick those certain times to look at the different hormonal metabolites that are coming out through the saliva, so you can test for different types of estrogen, like that good and bad estrogen. Also looking at other hormones like progesterone and DHEA and testosterone and cortisol. So saliva hormone testing is another really helpful way of monitoring hormones. Another tip is also temperature charting as well. So I know a lot of women think, the Billings method is just for contraception or just for trying to figure out the best time to have intercourse, to have a baby. However, temperatures can be a really good reflection of what's happening hormonally. The pattern of your temperatures will fluctuate through different times in your cycle depending on what's happening hormonally. So again, if you've got a practitioner that's good at interpreting temperature charts, that's another way of monitoring where you're at hormonally.
Wonderful. Crikey. I tell you what, all these, I'm writing off the page here. So, all these good tips here. I hope you ladies are taking notes, but never mind, I'm recording it so you can listen to it later. So fantastic. Okay, this is a good one because not many women know how to relax, Meah. We're givers, women are givers. We give of our time, our energy, everything. And sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, we sometimes forget to give back to ourselves. In fact, the issue is that, you know, if we don't give back to ourselves, how can we give to others? Let's talk about relaxation and the benefits that it has on our hormones. And what is one, you know, what are a couple of things that ladies can do to just really relax their hormones, in particular cortisol levels?
So I think switching off is so important, and I guess it really depends on what suits your family life, your lifestyle, your, you know, living situation. You know, it's not you know, always easy for people to get to the beach once a week, or you know, to go for a walk in the bush in nature, or you know, have some time with animals. And I think nature time is so important for relaxation. So if you don't have that easy access to some nature for regular relaxation, it's scheduling in some holidays. And so I know, like, personally, I find, because, you know, I'm running my own business and I'm consulting and I'm, you know, helping my customers with Fem21 stuff, and I've got my kids and it's all busy, and I'm on a lot of the time, that I schedule in a break for myself every 3 months, because I just know if I don't, I get really burnt out. And, you know, that might be for like a long weekend or a week, or somewhere where I can, you know, just have some chill time and go camping, or, you know, have just some time with the family and just hand over to somebody else for that time. And even though it's a bit stressful beforehand, and when you come back, you know, having that recharge time is so important. And, you know, if it's like on the weekends, you know, if you're not working weekends, you know, try to have some time where you're spending some time in nature. And if that's still difficult for you, I really encourage you to learn or connect with people for doing some meditation. And meditation can be done, you know, personally at home, mornings or evenings. There's apps that you can download to help you, guide you through certain meditations, or there's meditation groups that you can join as well, that, you know, you can collaboratively meditate together, and all of those sorts of intentive times, right? So you're putting your intention into something to relax, or to switch off, or just to connect with that inner self, really just helps that whole cortisol response, helps your adrenals, helps your hormones to rebalance, reduces inflammation, is so good for our brains, and, you know, our connection with other people in our relationships as well, because we're not, again, holding on to all of that stress, that we're giving ourselves the space and the time to clear that.
I think that was a really wonderful point that you made, is to schedule in some time. Now, we schedule in everything for everyone else, and it's really important to schedule in time. And I also schedule in time away every 3 months as well, for that simple reason. And quite often during the day, you know, you'll find me on the floor in my office, because I actually love to lay on my floor and just breathe. It's really important to just breathe. So ladies, schedule in that time, and whether it's a weekend away, a night away, or something, but make sure you schedule in that time, because we just don't do it, and it's really, really important. Okay, so thyroid, gut, liver health. This is a little bit of a specialty for you, Meah. So let's talk about thyroid, gut, and liver health, and in particular, your product, Fem21.
So, okay, cool. Certainly, it's so important to have a healthy, functioning thyroid, gut, and also liver to help our hormones come into balance. So we need adequate amounts of thyroid hormones, which is T3 and T4. So T3 is our active thyroid hormone. T4 is our inactive thyroid hormone. T3 gets made from T4. And so that T3 helps to metabolize hormones. And it also switches on cellular metabolism in every cell in our body. And so when our thyroid is not making that active T3, then everything in our body starts to slow down. And so that's like dry skin, our hair thins, our eyebrows thin, we're getting like cracked elbows or heels, our digestive system slows down, our mood drops, we get this brain fog, just everything is difficult when our thyroid is sluggish. And so the first thing that we want to ensure when it comes to thyroid health is that we have adequate iodine levels. And iodine, it's really important to get that checked through a urine test, and that can be ordered from your GP. It's not expensive, it's like $45. Otherwise, a practitioner like myself or a nutritionist or, you know, somebody that knows health and nutrition can order that test for you as well. And then if your iodine levels are low, simply by bringing those levels up, that can feed into the thyroid gland for much better functioning right at the top, right? And so then we've got the resources in our thyroid gland with iodine to start making more T4. And then we've got T4 being made. That's all cool. So we need to convert that inactive hormone into T3. And in order for that process to happen, we need certain nutrients to make enzymes for that conversion. And so those nutrients that make those enzymes are things like B6 and zinc and chromium and selenium and iron and vitamin D. And so if we're low in any of those nutrients, then that will have a lot more, a lot less, T3 and more T4. So there'll be an imbalanced ratio going on there. The other thing that can happen is that we can make another inactive hormone called reverse T3, and we'll often see reverse T3 levels being produced in an imbalanced thyroid picture because of elevated copper. And copper will bind with estrogen and prevent estrogen from being metabolized. But higher estrogen levels or estrogen dominance also goes with higher copper. So we then have that picture of more sluggish thyroid function because we're making more inactive thyroid hormones instead of the active stuff that we want. And so zinc and iron will antagonize copper nutritionally, so getting the balance right. So we're higher in zinc and iron and lower in copper also helps our thyroid to function much better and for cellular metabolism to work more efficiently. And with those thyroid hormones, that T3, more T3, then that also stimulates our liver to work better. So our liver metabolism of hormones is really important. We need our liver to be ticking over really nicely so we can clear things like testosterone and excess estrogen and allow our body to hold on to, where necessary, good levels of healthy estrogen and progesterone. And also our liver health will be crucial when it comes to clearing agents and heavy metals and chemicals that are driving inflammation. We also need our liver to be functioning well to convert stored fat into usable energy for our cells too. So if our liver is sluggish or we've got fatty liver and we've got higher levels of sugar in the bloodstream, we'll be just converting and storing a lot more fat. And we really don't want that way to be going through the liver. We want the other way where we're burning our stored fat, converting it into usable energy, and it's getting into the cell to be burnt up and metabolized. And then coming to gut health as well, we need good transit time, digestive enzymes. We need to be absorbing those nutrients efficiently so that our body has the resources it needs to run all of its systems. But also our gut and our liver together is our most efficient detoxification portal. So clearing hormones happens all in the gut. We need adequate fiber in order for that to be cleared out, good transit time, and creating an environment in the gut that's conducive of sustaining a healthy ecosystem when it comes to good bacteria that then signal to our immune system in terms of maintaining inflammation and maintaining our immune system and immune processes. That all gets, started in the gut. So I guess, linking it back to my product Fem21. So Fem21 has herbs that are specific for liver function in terms of like St. Mary's and dandelion and rosemary that all help to upregulate better detoxification in the liver, and it's protective for the liver for chemicals on their way out, and it's also going to help metabolize hormones and clear that more efficiently. Plus we've got fiber in Fem21, which helps to bind up those chemicals and toxins and hormonal metabolites that then can be carried out of the body after the liver has dumped them into the bowel. We've got probiotics in there, and we've also got herbs that are supporting thyroid function, like withania and bladderwrack and rosemary, and that all comes together to be like an all-in-one, not just for thyroid, gut health and liver, but also supporting other hormone balance like estrogen and progesterone through chaste tree or like cohosh and broccoli and pomegranate and other herbs and nutrients and foods that are all helpful for hormones and adrenals as well. So we've got like licorice and Siberian ginseng, so supporting really those key systems that influence how we're feeling, from adrenals, thyroid, liver, gut and hormones all in one.
Fantastic. And yeah, Fem21 is certainly a part of my healthy regime.
Yay.
Also, yeah, it is has been for a long time. So it all sounds very complicated, okay, especially to the individual person that may be listening. I mean, I've certainly got quite an extensive knowledge on hormones and what you're just talking about, and a lot of it has come from you, thanks Meah. But in a basic nutshell, Meah, I mean, apart from taking something like Fem21, what other thing can they just sort of literally, apart from lifestyle changes, I guess it comes from like coffee, lifestyle choices, stress and all that, all affect the thyroid, gut and liver. Would you say that?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I think, it is complicated, Lynn, and it's a bit of a minefield when it comes to understanding your body. But keep in mind, the more knowledge that you can gain and the more that you're learning about your body, the best person to manage that is you. And so, it's really important that you working with somebody, I think, that can teach you about your body. Education is such an important thing so that you can then go on to manage it yourself longer term. So I guess, just coming back to the key points is, ensure that your gut function is good. Making sure that you're making healthy choices for your diet. You're getting adequate levels of exercise regularly and activity. You're making some time for relaxation and stress management. You're getting good sleep. And then, you're working with a practitioner to check things like hormone levels and iodine and thyroid function and cortisol levels, so that if there are any red flags waving there, that you can do specific treatment, whether it's herbal or nutritional, to support those areas that are specific for you.
Perfect, absolutely. And education is the key, hence us having the webinar tonight. And Meah is definitely a go-to person when I need some help as well, not only for myself but for my clients as well. So okay, fantastic. So last but not least, let's talk about our mindset, and how that can have effect on our hormones.
Yeah, so I think this is so cool that we're all talking about this, and that we're
because I love the mindset. I kind of left this to sort of a little bit to the last, but I just love it. It's like the mindset is just so groovy, and it can keep us stuck, and it can move us forward. So I'll let you talk, because otherwise I will ramble on.
So I think when it comes to mindset, there's a few things to really, and I guess this is perfect because it really carries on from what we were talking about earlier with those first two things. Looking after yourself and clearing negativity. Carrying on from that, I would say that mindset is so important when it comes to having an attitude of gratitude. And we can so easily get into this critical, judgmental mindset of things being not good enough, and I'm not happy, and I'm unworthy, and it's not, working, and it's hard, and in that negative, critical frame of mind, which just perpetuates and attracts more negativity. And so I find that if you can be aware of your mindset at that moment and find something to be grateful for that is like the light at the end of the tunnel, it really will help to pull you out of that negative headspace. And it can be something completely unrelated. If you're constantly criticizing how you look, or your skin, or your weight, or your job, or your lack of money, or whatever it might be, then it's just going to perpetuate more of that in your life, because that's where, your energy and your attention is going to. But if you can, pick up when you're in that space and find something else to focus on, and find something to be that you're grateful for, whether it is your family, or your car, or the fact that you can have a computer and you've got these blessings in your life, and focus on them, then that helps you to navigate out of the woods when it comes to that critical judgmental mindset. So gratitude is so important. I think the next thing that's really important is being really empowered in yourself about the choices that you're making. So when we understand that we're creating our own thoughts and we're in charge of them, and we're creating our emotions and we're also in charge of them, and those two are intricately linked, and so that we can then take responsibility for the thoughts and emotions that we're creating in our internal environment, then we can take charge from that space and feel empowered about what we're doing in our life and the healthy choices that we're making for our emotional, our physical health, or our environment. And then we can just work from that space that then has a ripple effect outwards. So rather than feeling disempowered and blaming the world, or blaming, your husband or money, or waiting for things to change in order for you to feel better, that just leaves us disempowered, right? And so even if by some miracle that did change and you won the lottery, sure, you might feel better for a little while, but unless you changed your mindset and your attitude and your internal environment, then soon that would still not be good enough. And that would, you'd still just attract more of that, lack mentality, or that mindset, or find yourself in a position again that you're creating that same experience without a change in mindset. So really be aware of the choices that you're making every day, and just do little things that help you to feel better. Don't get into that beat yourself up space of things being not good enough, or if something's not working, just really accepting that and saying, okay, well, that's not right at this time. I'm just not going to keep beating my head against that brick wall of things that I can't change. I'm not going to blame whatever because that's not working. I'm just going to work on myself and what I can do and help to keep moving forward. And then I think the last thing too is just really being, trusting of life, and that we're moving through different phases, and we can either resist something to the nth degree and be in a state of stress and resistance and things not working, and it's like rowing your boat up the stream of this raging river. But if we, trust that that river of life is going to take us through different phases, and that we can flow with it and be in flow and work with, and put our energy and attention into things that are working in our life, and, you know, be grateful for that and focusing more on that positive mindset, then, you know, we just tend to accelerate through those negative phases and, you know, come out the other side stronger, healthier, happier, more evolved people, which I think is, you know, which is what something that everybody wants. I know I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Crikey.
Keep learning and keep open and yeah, to move through that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And my mindset is, you know, I found out many years ago that the power of the mind is absolutely incredible, and especially when it comes to weight loss. The difference between women that lose a lot of weight and keep it off, and women that lose a lot of weight and put it all back on again, is our mindset. Absolutely the difference. So women can lose a lot of weight and be in a slimmer body, but to have the same mindset. So unless you change your mindset, you will always be in that yo-yo weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss position. So mindset is critical, not only to be able to achieve a happier, more fulfilled, fun, loving life, but also, you know, it works mentally and physically as well. So your mindset can keep you healthy, and it can also keep you unhealthy. So it's really important to really be mindful of the way you think and you know, how you talk to yourself on a daily basis. So I'm really passionate about that. So thank you, Meah, very much. So okay, so I think we've gone through 10. That said 9. Maybe I've not changed it, but I think we've gone through 10. But what I want to bring here, you know, show just talking about mindset. You know, I put together a menopause mindset diet, and the reason why I like to call it a mindset diet is simply because when we want to lose weight, we open up our pantry and we pluck out all those horrible you know, foods and things that are keeping us fat, frumpy and tired, and we replace it with foods that are going to serve us well. Well, this is the same as the menopause mindset diet. It's a 30-day program that aligns your psychology for success, and what it does is it really allows you to take a look at your emotional eating habits, your limiting beliefs, your self-sabotage, your self-doubt, your fears, your incongruent values, your toxic behaviors and all that. And it really does pluck out all those limiting beliefs and that mindset that's keeping you stuck where you are, and replaces them with more you know, thoughts and beliefs that are serving you well. Now, this menopause mindset diet starts on the 1st of every month. It's $97. So if you're interested, please private message me to get started. The next one is on the 1st of December. So if that interests you, then that'd be absolutely amazing if you could join us. Now, Meah, we talked about your Fem21. Now, you can actually purchase that product from me, or you can actually purchase it from Meah. Now, Meah, if you just want to let them know what your website is, that would be wonderful.
So if you search Fem21 on Google, you'll just find it fem21.com.au. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and we've got a lovely little group of women as well called the Femtastic Women's Group. And so if anybody's interested in being a part of that as well, you're more than welcome to join, and you'll see that link through Facebook too.
Absolutely. So go ahead and become friends with Meah on Facebook, because she's just you know, I mean, as you've seen tonight, she's fantastic and got a wealth of knowledge. And so you can actually yeah, you've got your private Facebook, you've got your business Facebook page, your Fem21. So go ahead and befriend Meah. Also, I'd like to offer everyone that is on the end of this call 2 free coaching sessions, 2 free hormone enhancement coaching sessions. It's valued at $138. So please, if you're interested in 2 free coaching sessions with me, you can either book your appointment with me at the URL down below, or you can also private message me as well. So thank you for joining us. I would like to open this up to questions and answers. So if you've got any burning questions for Meah, please just type it in the chat, and we'll be able to read that out and answer that. So here's your chance. If you have got anything at all that you would like, please just type away. One thing that I would like to ask you, Meah, is can you just touch base on urinary tract infections and hormones, please?
Yeah, interesting. Urinary tract infections are more common for women as they lose estrogen and good estrogen in their body. And certainly it happens because the mucous membranes in the urinary tract will thin out, and that lack of connective tissue integrity in the mucous membranes will then cause bacterial overgrowth, and so leaving us more susceptible to urinary tract infections, which then can develop, if not treated, into more severe kidney infections, which can then lead to scarring in the kidneys and a reduced amount of function there in the kidneys, which can then cause havoc with things like blood pressure and maintaining our body's acid alkaline balance as well. So keeping our healthy estrogen up and urinating after having intercourse, and keeping our fluid intake up through the day and keeping our body flushed and that connective tissue integrity strong, not just with estrogen, but also with nutrients and protein that help that. So protein and zinc are all important for connective tissue integrity. Cranberries, like a helpful thing. Keeping our blood and our urine more on the alkaline side also is helpful too. So if we're running really acidic, that's going to also wear down that mucous membrane, leaving us more susceptible to recurrent infections.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you. So has anyone else got any questions that you'd like to ask? Now's your chance. So just type it in the chat box, and Meah's quite open to answering any questions that you have, any hormone-related questions, or that question that you've been dying to ask. Just type away, and Meah is obliging to the max.
One question we had earlier, just to share that with everybody, is about the blood type, and I spoke a bit briefly about blood type diet. So if you're looking for more specific information about that, there's the doctor that's done the research. His name is Diadamo. So that's Dr. D''ADAMO, and his system is called Eat Right for Your Blood Type. And you can find, I wouldn't get too sort of bogged down with the specifics of what you can and can't eat, just keep in mind an overall sort of picture with the blood type. Say A is better following more of a vegetarian style diet. So, in that sense, you'd want to minimize your intake of red meat. O's do better on more of a paleo, which is less for dairy and for grains. B's do better on less chicken and more of a natural diet similar to paleo, but they can tolerate dairy okay. ABs are the most lucky blood types of all because they're the most resilient and can tolerate a mixture between an A type diet and a B type diet. Unfortunately, they're the most rare, but also the most resilient. So if you can find out what your blood type is, your blood group, and then read up a little bit about some of the eating patterns that are associated with that, I think you can start to make some modifications that can really help to change your eating pattern and your dietary choices.
Perfect. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Meah. It doesn't look like we've got any questions. I guess you've answered them all during the webinar, so I do really appreciate that.
Oh, good.
Fantastic, Meah. Yeah, look, wonderful. Oh, here we go. Meah, my 21-year-old daughter has acne. Is that hormone related?
Certainly when we're looking at acne, there's different drivers for that. Acne that if you're looking at face mapping, that is more around the mouth, chin, around the mouth, below the nose, jawline, is more hormonally fueled, that type of breakouts, especially if they're more deeper cystic type pimples. They tend to be more hormonally fueled. So certainly helping that helps, the hormones helps reduce the frequency and severity of breakouts. If it's cheeks and it's more surface related, it can be more like bacteria on the skin. So sometimes that can be an imbalance with, what you're using personal care products wise, or if there's, too much acidity on the skin, for example. If it's across the forehead, then that's more liver and digestion related. So I guess different things drive acne. So it's just understanding if it's fluctuating hormonally as well. So if it's getting worse around ovulation or before a period, then certainly that is hormonally fueled.
Fantastic. Well, that's amazing. Okay, so any more questions? Any more before we close off for the night and get rid of all this blue light and then go and do something very relaxing?
Yes, go have a bath, a shower, wash it all away.
Yeah, a bit of meditation before we go to bed and de-stress.
Nice.
So, okay, fantastic. All right, thank you so much, Meah. Thank you, everyone, for coming on and listening in tonight. I really, really do appreciate it. I do hope there were so many nuggets in there, absolutely so many nuggets. I do hope that you've been writing all this down. And if you do think of a question later on, that's okay. Just PM me, and I can fire that away to Meah if I can't help you with that. So do thank you very much, and I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I did. Meah's always an amazing person, and as I said, appreciate you, Meah, for coming on and sharing your knowledge. It's wonderful. And thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks, Meah. Bye.
Bye.